So which quarterbacks am I going to end up with on the majority of my fantasy football teams for the 2023 season? This is the Fantasy Sports Boss. Before I get into that, make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the notification button if you're new to the channel. So yes, already there are early ADPs, mock drafts, even some legitimate drafts for those who really want to draft early, as we're not even into June yet for the 2023 fantasy football season. So I'm going to discuss the current ADPs on the respective quarterbacks, and then give you my top 12, and then also identify which quarterbacks I'm most likely going to end up with on my teams this season. Now, the preface to all of this is that I play in single quarterback leagues, and I suggest you do the same. I don't like super flex leagues with quarterbacks. I do like flex leagues, obviously, with running backs, receivers, and tight ends. But I don't like having to rely on two quarterbacks. Given the nature of all the injuries. B, bye weeks, and all that other stuff. So I just don't think there's enough good quarterbacks to go around. So I prefer the single quarterback leagues, and that's the lens that we're going to use for this video today. Now, in terms of the ADP, right now, Pat Mahomes is going ahead of Josh Allen, number one. So a little surprised by that, considering he doesn't have anywhere near the supporting cast that Allen has. I know people are buying into the narrative that Allen's going to run less, but even if he does run less, he's still going to run more than Mahomes. So I'm kind of not buying that early ADP. I think that's going to flip. But Mahomes is one, Josh Allen number two, Jalen Hurts is number three, which I expected. But Lamar Jackson is not what I wanted to see. Right now, he's number four. I was hoping with the video I put out last week that I really want Lamar Jackson. That's one guy I'll just tell you right off the bat. And you already know this based on that video that I did last week, that I love Lamar Jackson this season. I'm willing to go to be aggressive on him. I have said at the end of last season that I've come around on drafting a quarterback earlier than I normally would. I used to be a firm proponent of just waiting on your quarterback. I had Matt Ryan for so many years when he was with Atlanta because he was always well priced. I had Tony Romo for so many years because he was well priced. But now I want that dual threat, speed, passing quarterback. I'm willing to move earlier than I ever have on that front. So Jackson at number four scares me a little. Joe Burrow is number five. Justin Fields number six. No shock there. I actually think Fields might even challenge Burrow for the fifth spot. Justin Herbert is seventh. Trevor Lawrence eighth. Deshaun Watson is ninth. So people are still believing in Deshaun Watson. Dak Prescott is 10th. I'm not buying that one either. Kirk Cousins 11. Daniel Jones 12. Tua Tagovailoa at 13. Aaron Rodgers 14. And Anthony Richardson, the rookie quarterback out of Florida for the Colts, is 14. And I think that will climb just because of the rushing quotient that he brings to the table. Just a freak athlete, very, very comparable to Justin Fields in terms of skill set. Now, here is my top 12 right now as on May 29th. This is how I see it. I have Josh Allen number one because of the supporting cast, and he runs more than Mahomes. I have Mahomes number two. Jalen Hurts is three, and I think that's generally the consensus, the top three, and then there's a gap, and then there's everybody else. I have Jackson number four, so I've gone along, other than flipping the top two, with how the top group is gone. I have Joe Burrow five, Justin Fields six. I have Trevor Lawrence seventh. All right. You all know I love Trevor Lawrence. That offense is loaded. So that he's seventh. I have Justin Herbert eighth. Deshaun Watson ninth. Daniel Jones I have 10th. Aaron Rodgers 11th. Dak Prescott 12th. Now, which quarterbacks am I going to take? So even though I want one of these dual threat quarterbacks, okay, and that includes Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, Jackson, Fields, Lawrence, Watson, Jones, I want to get one of those guys. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 guys, and I do like Justin Herbert too, and I think he's going to be decently priced. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 8 quarterbacks outside of Lawrence. If we throw Lawrence in there, Herbert. If we throw Herbert in there, that's 9. So that's 9 guys I'm targeting. But I'm most likely not going to own Josh Allen. It's not that I don't like him, but I still want to get that prime receiver early in the first round, or anytime in the first round, really. I'm still in on Travis Kelce if I can get him in round one. I just don't see myself moving for Josh Allen. I think he's going to be a second-round pick, so I'm not willing to use a second-round pick on him. Now, Pat Mahomes, here's the caveat with Pat Mahomes. If I get Travis Kelce in the first round, and again, this has become a very divisive topic with me saying that Kelce is the best player in fantasy football. I stand by that just because, again, 100 points more than the second highest scoring tight end in PPR leagues last season. He was on the most championship league teams this past season by a mile. Go look it up. So he is a true difference maker. And there's even less competition now for targets, pending what happens with DeAndre Hopkins. So I still think he's a first-round pick. If I get Kelsey in the first round, I will go get Mahomes in the second round and do the ultimate stack there. I mean, that Mahomes is somebody I definitely can see on my team, but only if I get Kelsey. If I don't get Kelsey, I'm passing on Mahomes. Jalen Hurts, not taking Hurts. Great season. Couple of games missed to injury. He's a smaller quarterback. That concerns me, but I'm not reaching. And he's all the rage right now. So Jalen Hurts he's going to be too pricey for me in terms of my plan. Lamar Jackson, obviously, I'm going to target Jackson. So if he holds in that fourth spot, that means he's probably going to be a fourth-round pick. I can see myself using a fourth-round pick on Lamar Jackson, so I'm fine with that. Joe Burrow, I do like Burrow. I'm not going to proactively go after him, though. Do I have a thing about Burrow? I don't, maybe I do. I just have never really targeted him in drafts. Hell of a player for sure. Justin Fields is going to be too pricey for me. I think that the hype is going to get a little out of control. And I had him last season. He did help me win my league, which I also had Kelsey on. But he was so banged up, and by the end of the season in the playoff weeks, he really did almost nothing. And that's the fear I have. I know they brought in DJ Moore. They have some more help. But I'm worried about, he was constantly nicked up. That offensive line, it's better, but it doesn't look great. So I'm worried about him. Now, let's get into the guys I'm really most likely going to end up with. And that starts, besides Lamar Jackson, the next one is Trevor Lawrence. I could see myself having Trevor Lawrence on every single team this season. You want to say ride or die, like, Matthew Berry does. I wouldn't go that far, but at the quarterback position, it's either Lamar Jackson or Trevor Lawrence in terms of my top choice. I love Trevor Lawrence. He's here. He's coming. He really exponentially took major steps last season. His development, his supporting cast is insane. They brought back Evan Engram, true difference-making tight end. They have Calvin Ridley, great trade. He's a wide receiver one. They still have Christian Kirk. They still have Zay Jones. They have Travis Etienne who can catch balls out of the backfield. This team is loaded, and Lawrence can run. He can pick up yardage on the ground. So I'm in on Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is the guy that I'm going to target more heavily than anybody else, for sure. Now, Justin Herbert. I'm not going to go crazy on him. I think if he falls far enough, because I think people are going to knock him on the poor season he had last season, and it was a poor season. I know there's a lot of injuries at the wide receiver unit, but I'm not going to proactively chase him. Deshaun Watson, I'm intrigued by Deshaun Watson. I will tell you this, Deshaun Watson has a chance to be on my teams. I even would draft him as a top backup. I think you got to throw out last season. It was a lot of rust to work off. A lot of distractions, too, coming back from the suspension, dealing with all that. But this is a good player who's still in his prime years. He's still young. He's not even 30 yet. Watson can run. We saw how good he was with the Houston Texans. I mean, he was a top 5 quarterback with the Texans before the trouble started. I think he can get back to that. They have a good trio of receivers. They have an athletic tight end. I think Watson's going to be fine. And I think now, because of the way he played the second half of last season, the price is dropping to where he's very attractive. The payoff is potentially big. And you could get a dual threat quarterback in Watson, who's one of the cheapest dual threat quarterbacks I talked about at a decent price. So if you build out that receiver, running back room, and even get your tight end, you might be able to come back to Watson in round 7, round 8. All right, Daniel Jones. I'm a Giants fan, so there's a little pull there for me for Daniel Jones. The touchdown passing numbers weren't great, but he did run for a bunch of scores on the ground as well, which helps offset things. And that's the same deal with Jalen Hurts too. It's like Jones is a lesser Jalen Hurts. They brought in Darren Waller, who's going to do wonders for him, but they still don't have an alpha wide receiver one. Jalen Hyatt, the rookie, is a speed demon. He's going to really be an asset to this offense, but consistency, I don't think he has that. He had a very limited route tree when he was in college. But Jones, do I want to have him as my starter? I don't think so. So I'm not. I don't generally like to draft players of teams I root for as well, because it just adds more stress. Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott, I'm done with Dak. Dak was a guy I used to also target as a value quarterback for years, but he looks he looks very diminished athletically. Aaron Rodgers, 39, he's still going to throw the ball. He's in a good spot with the Jets. He's got a lot of offensive help now. So I'm intrigued by Rodgers, but he doesn't run anymore. So that's a negative for me. Now, the last one, and believe it or not, you probably thought I forgot about him, but I didn't. He's not in that top 14 of ADP, is Geno Smith. Geno Smith continues to get disrespected, even though he had a monster year last season. He was unbelievable. And now he's got Jackson Smith and Jigba, the rookie wide receiver, coming in. They have three wide receiver 1/wide receiver 2 players on this offense. I mean, Geno Smith was unbelievable last season. And you know what? He runs just enough to make him a dual threat. I can see myself with Geno Smith. I can't even believe that. And again, this is somebody from New York, myself, who saw him with the Jets, how terrible he was. I could see myself with Geno Smith at the very least as a top backup. So to rehash, Pat Mahomes, only if I draft Travis Kelce. Lamar Jackson, absolutely heavy in on Lamar Jackson. Heavy in on Trevor Lawrence. One of those two most likely will be on my teams, or both of them, if I split the baby, will be on the majority of my teams this season. Deshaun Watson, failing to get Lawrence and Jackson, if there's a major run on quarterback, I'm fine going into the season with Deshaun Watson, but then I probably want to back him up right away with Geno Smith. So, that's fine with me. I can mix and match those two, and I think you'll be just fine. In fact, that's a pretty good combo. If you really wait and you see Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, Jackson, Burrow, Fields, and Lawrence and Herbert all go off the board, take Watson and then just follow him up with Geno Smith. That would be a great pairing that you could bounce back and forth. So I'm fine with those guys. I'm not touching Anthony Richardson. I would draft Anthony Richardson, though, as a backup, 100% if I could. But I think people are going to go nuts with him just on the newness of him and the upside. So, again, Mahomes, only if I get Kelce. Lamar Jackson, yes. Trevor Lawrence, yes. Deshaun Watson, yes. Geno Smith, yes. Those are the four. The four quarterbacks that are going to most likely lead my fantasy football teams this season in terms of price, value, filling out the rest of my team, and getting a dual threat quarterback. It meets all those criteria. All right, guys, hit that subscribe, hit the notification button. Make sure you get my fantasy football draft guide. I go in on all these players. You can hit the link. I can send you a PDF version of it, or just go to Amazon and pick up the hard copy. All right, guys, we will talk soon.